Good evening, good morning, or whenever it is you get to see this. Barry here, Best China Info, and I have a, a very special guest to me, and I hope to you. I'm sure you'll find him very interesting. His name is Richard Keenan, and he's an old friend I've only just met, and we'll explain that later. Rich, do you
Yeah,
want to introduce yourself?
yeah, cool. Well, Barry, thanks for having me on, mate.
Pleasure.
Where to start? I suppose I'll start in 2010,
Okay,
which is when I first started finding out what life in China is really like.
okay.
So, and this is why I've ended up watching your videos, sharing your
Mm,
videos, and being
mm.
introduced to people like Daniel and Brian,
Yeah,
the Barretts, Jason, and it's all because in 2011 me and my wife went to get married in China,
okay.
which was just an absolute brilliant eye opener. It
Uh,
changed my life completely
uh,
because I had no idea what it was going to be like.
okay.
You just don't know. So I rolled into Shanghai in 2011, and it's the first experience of culture shock I ever had.
Okay.
I had no idea. I wasn't prepared for it at all.
Okay.
I really was sort of having panic attacks the first day because it was just so big.
Yeah.
It was so huge.
Yeah.
And you're very much aware of the fact that you're a foreigner when you get
Mm,
there
mm-hmm.
because there wasn't many foreigners around.
That's back then.
But I just loved it there.
Yeah. Mm,
But it wasn't long until I started noticing the absolutely bizarre way that life over in China is portrayed in the media. You
okay.
can't help but notice it. You can't
Uh-huh.
help it.
Yeah.
I had a Sky News app on my phone. I just, check the news, and every now
Okay.
and then there'd be an article about China, and you'd read it and think, hang on, what? Why are they saying it's like that?
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
really bizarre.
Mm,
And there's a lot of small things that the small stuff
uh,
that are just completely inaccurate, but they don't really mean anything. And it goes from that
yeah.
to the unspeakably appalling stuff that they say,
Mm,
which you've
mm,
spoken a lot about.
mm, mm,
And then the reasons for it, and you realize that there's something really nasty going on, and it's
mm,
it's upsetting. It's
mm,
upsetting,
mm.
you know.
So you came to China specifically to and Shanghai to
Yeah,
specifically to get married in China.
yeah. Well, I met my wife. Had been living in England for 15 years,
Okay.
and we met in London,
Mm,
and it just made more sense. I mean, I was dying to go.
uh,
We discussed, we planned it all out. I mean, obviously, it was planned by my mother-in-law
of course. Yeah.
with an iron fist.
Yeah.
Everything was planned
Yeah.
by her. But of
Yeah.
course, we went along. My parents came over,
Okay.
and it was just fantastic. It really was.
Mm,
But the first trip, um, so I arrived in Shanghai. We went up to Beijing for 3 days. We came back. We went to Huangshan in
mm,
Anhui province.
mm.
Just completely blew me away.
Yeah.
We went up Huangshan. It's fantastic.
Okay.
Then we came back, met my parents, got married. Then we went across to Hangzhou. It was just a trip of a lifetime for me completely,
Yeah.
and we've been going every year since then.
Right. So you were
Yeah.
hooked right from the word go.
I loved it there. I just thought it was fantastic.
Yeah.
It's just a
Yeah.
brilliant city, Shanghai, absolutely
Uh-huh.
brilliant.
Yeah.
And one of the first things I noticed is, as you well know, everywhere we went, everybody was just so bloody friendly, just
Yeah.
really, really friendly
Yeah.
and happy. And
Yeah.
this is the point: happy.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what job they're doing, happy. Just, this is the thing. You don't go over there and find oppressed people
Yeah.
desperate to get out. It's everybody's. And also, here's one thing that I'm constantly reminded of is
Yeah.
that being over there reminds you how completely inconsequential here is
Okay.
to them.
Okay. Yeah.
That part of the world, there's so
Yeah.
much going on.
Uh-huh.
It's like, no, the UK, the US, it's not the center of the world at all.
Yeah.
Over there, no one really cares what's going on over here.
Yeah.
You know?
I noticed the same. I got the same feeling that you did, which to me was, I see more smiling faces, and more contentment. And yet there are niggles, and everybody has their day-to-day niggles with daily life and stuff. But just by and large, on the whole, the population that I've encountered in 7 years in China have been pretty much happy.
Yeah.
And I remember my time in England, diametrically opposed. It's the opposite. Yeah.
Exactly. Especially when you see, the it doesn't matter what job people are doing.
Ah.
They do it in a dignified way, and they're happy to do it.
Mm.
Whereas, we can make comparisons all day, but you know that a lot of the people doing the sort of more menial jobs over in the UK, they're not happy to do it at all.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But it was just an amazing learning curve, finding out, what life was like for my wife growing up at the same time as I was growing up in the 70s over here.
Right.
And the changes that have happened to China since then is just mind blowing. It's an incredible achievement what's going on. So,
So you're whereabouts in England are you from? Because we kind of should have met at some point, and we should have met in Shropshire, in Shrewsbury, and
that's
for some reason. So you're a Shrewsbury lad.
Well, no, I was born in Shrewsbury. I grew up in Shropshire, and then moved down to London in 1999. First of all in 1989, then back, and then back in 1999. Yeah. Just for work. And I've lived there ever since. I've moved just outside of London now, but we work still there all the time. Okay. Not so much now because of COVID. Obviously, that's changed. Okay. It's changed everything. And that brings us on to COVID, which is one of the reasons why I've become so appalled about the behavior of the media and people in general. Because that was one thing, we were just there. Okay. In fact, I was in Guilin. Really? And if I'd have known you just before, we could have come and said, hi, man, I was there. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. We went to Guilin and Yangshuo last time we were there. Wow. And this, you giving your personal view of what life is like currently in London, in the UK, you're there. I mean, I have 7 years ago since I was there, so I have absolutely no real idea of, and the people here, obviously, I'm sure it would be great for them, for you to give some kind of insight in how it's affecting daily life and work and travel and actually how people feel about how the situation is managed. Well, it's a disaster, isn't it? I'm sure that everybody in China knows what a disaster it's been. I mean, I saw yesterday a headline. There's been something like 2,000 people a day dying in the United States from COVID, and 0 in China. But for some reason, it's them that are getting it wrong. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. None of it makes any sense. But I'll tell you a little bit about the whole COVID thing. I mean, I lost my father to it. I don't even know if I told you that last Christmas. I remember now. Yeah, you did. Yeah, it's a complete disaster. So I was in China for 3 months, 2019. We've just sold some property over there, and so we were coming back and forth the whole time. Okay. And taking, we always take a holiday when we're there, and this time it was down to Guilin and Yangshuo. But we were there almost up until Christmas, 2019, and when we came back, obviously we speak to people in China every day because there's WeChat, and we're always in touch with Eugene's family and my friends, her friends. Yeah. So we knew there was something going on very, very quickly. Everybody in China did. It was on the news that it was happening, and I started speaking to people about it here. At that time, I was working near Piccadilly, and somewhere in Marble Arch as well. So we were on the tubes every single day, and with me knowing what was happening over there in China, and there was nothing on the news here, nothing. Okay. I was telling people about it, and when they did start talking about it, people would say, "Oh yeah, but it's just a cold, right? It's just like a cold." I'd say, "No, it isn't. This is the thing." Yeah. And we went from there, January, February, nothing. Still nothing in March, apart from maybe they told us not to wear masks, to wash our hands. That was the big thing. They said, don't wear masks. They said, don't wear masks. They don't work. Because they knew we wouldn't be able to get them, or they'd sell out really fast. I don't know what the reason for it was, but it was very clear. We'll loop back on that one, actually, masks and PPE. But carry on, Rich, yeah? So that was it. And I was shouting it from the rooftops, telling everybody, look, it's going to be here already. And now, of course, now we know it was already here the whole time anyway. Yeah. And there's lots of different theories about that. But for me, the main thing was it was just completely mismanaged. And when we finally did lock down, the first day I looked out the window and realized this wasn't going to work at all, because I'd spoken to people in Wuhan, I'd spoken to people in Shanghai during their lockdown, and seen how effective it was. And then when we locked down, there was still people working on the building sites. There was so many people around just every day. I just thought there's no way this is going to work. And of course it didn't.
Right.
And I was appalled, basically, after watching it be successfully contained in China, to finding out that our borders weren't even closed. There was planes flying in every day. It was a complete mess. We all know this. It was a complete mess from start to finish. And now we're in just as bad a position as we were, although everyone's vaccinated, or some people are vaccinated.
Yeah. And do you, as a Brit, in there, in the middle of that mismanagement going on, what's your feeling about what people thought and what people felt about how it was being managed? Did you get the feeling that people saying, look, the government are a bunch of clowns, and they are either just clowns and they don't know how to manage it, or they are deliberately mismanaging it? What was the feeling?
Difficult one. My feeling was that they didn't really know what they were doing.
Okay.
And more importantly, I don't know whether they were worried that people just wouldn't do what they were told. People in general over here did realize that the government was really, really mixed up, and there was lots of really funny memes about it. It's like they're telling us to go out, then come back in, then go out, then come back in, open, then close. And it was I think most people thought it was ridiculous, but it really divided everybody.
Right.
The people that just didn't care, didn't want to lock down. And that was the thing. It just completely divided the society more than it already was.
You know, Rich, I think you just hit the nail on the head.
Well, that's what I saw.
The D word divided everybody.
Division. Yeah.
It divided everybody.
All arguing amongst ourselves.
Do this, do that. No, don't do this. Now do that. Don't, and blah, blah, blah. Up, like in and out like a fiddler's elbow. And everybody is, there's no unity in that situation, is there? Because if the word from the top is confusing and dividing everybody, then how can the... And that's it. I think that's crystallized it, really.
And it's another thing that you do notice, again, another comparison between this society and over in China was when I'm in China, the whole thing about a harmonious society is lovely to be a part of. I love it. The fact that everyone seems to be on the same page and not so divided. So why is that so wrong, you know? And I suppose a really, really important point about the way people think about China is that most people don't understand it. And Martin Jakes says this all the time. Nobody understands China in the West, and they don't. Well, we all know that the approval rating for their government is really, really high. Never been that high over here. And again, we're divided because it's only ever what? It's never 50-50, is it? It's always...
I noticed a speech, a quote I picked up yesterday. Someone's asked me to do some research on China's version of social democracy. And I noticed a speech, and I think it was Xi Jinping, who actually stated, you know, you've got, and I said this in a video a few months ago, that you've got a system in the West where the old Roman system is still in place. It's divide and conquer. And you've actually got an electoral system of government where it's the same principle. It's win or lose, us or them, him or me, I win, you die, and it's that divide and conquer principle is embedded in the system, and there's no unity in that situation.
No, there's only ever so many people happy at once, and that's something I've noticed over the years that when I'm in China, that's taken out of the equation. And nobody's particularly missing out on anything. There's just a lot of misunderstanding going on. There's a hell of a lot of misunderstanding.
The understanding
when it comes to COVID, go back to that. I had a conversation with a really good friend of mine.
Okay.
And he said, and again, it's another big misunderstanding. It's one of those words you always hear: totalitarian, police state. So a friend of mine said, the only reason they handled it so well is because it's a police state. And I just went, you've never been to China. I've been going there for 10 years. I've hardly seen the police. how often do you see the police?
Exactly.
I hardly ever see the police.
This is the thing. You don't see them. And the ones in Guilin sell you an ice cream, and they're little mobiles that go around and go quack, quack, quack. And it's like,
Yeah.
this is authoritarian. It's like living in Trumpton. You know, you would remember Trumpton. It's like living in Trumpton. I was in Beijing a few weeks ago, and
Yeah, how was it?
oh, wonderful. My first trip to Beijing. I love the place. I really do.
Racist.
I'm always, you know me, I'm probably more kind of a little bit hedgy around a big city, but as big cities go, Beijing was. I was sat outside the National Gallery, the National Museum, with two old guys sitting either side of me, sharing fags, and remarking on the fact that we got a free lighter back on the way out of the National Museum, like we'd known each other.
Oh, because they take them off you on the way in.
Yeah, you get, but they give you. There's a free box on the way back out. You get a free lighter back. And me and these old guys are sitting down. Where are you? Are you American? No. English? Yeah, I'm English. Great. And as if we'd known each other forever. And it's just like this. And this is the thing that people maybe don't understand, is that China's this beehive thing. It's just, we're all Chinese, and it's just a natural way. And people have differences. You see people arguing sometimes, but there's this kinship, this unity thing that's there. But I love Beijing. I adore Beijing. It's a fantastic city.
I did. I really liked it there. We only went for a few days, and I want to go back one day eventually.
Yeah.
But I think, what was I going to say? I've probably forgotten what I was going to say now. But yeah, one of the things I can't wait to do is be able to come back.
Yeah.
Because it's the longest we've not been able to come back to China.
Okay. And the problem is getting the right visa, or the length of visa, and what?
Well, I had a 2-year visa.
Okay.
The next one I was going to get would have been 5 years.
Okay.
They literally said to me when I got the last one, as long as you visit China every year, twice in the next 2 years, the next one they give you will be for 5 years.
Wow.
And I said,
okay.
Great. And then, of course, that one has run out during this period. And now they won't even accept visa applications at the moment. And I can't complain about it, because look what they've managed to achieve.
Yeah.
You know, there's hardly any COVID in the country, because you can eradicate it, but it's just not reported on here. It's just not reported on.
This is the thing.
If it is, it's in a negative light, as always. The old "at what cost" nonsense.
At what cost? Yeah, this is the thing. I mean, I went from Guilin, which is a low-risk place. We've had no cases for a while, to Beijing, and there are some cases up in Neimongu, which is where Lily comes from. And you've got these apps on your phone, and it's like, if you've had your vaccination, the app tells them. You scan a code. Yeah, he's vaccinated. Yeah, he's from this area. Is that area risk? And it's all logged. And they're going about this surveillance state, but it's efficient. They know.
That's what I was saying.
They know who you are. They know where you are. They know where you've been, where you're going, whether you're vaccinated or not. And it's controlled in that way. And they've got an eye on it, and it works. You know, it works.
But there isn't a problem with it, really. No. So I can say something about this.
Yeah.
So going back to 2, 3, 4 years ago, we went on holiday to Zhangjiajie.
Okay.
Have you ever been there?
I have. It's amazing. Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Just absolutely. I loved it there, actually. It's I thought I'd never top Huangshan, but really, it's gorgeous there.
Yeah.
Anyway, that year was when they brought in taking all the foreigners' fingerprints when they came in.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So they said on the plane as we were coming into Pudong Airport that all foreigners have to go to this automated thing to take all your fingerprints. And I just went, oh, okay.
Yeah.
In fact, I didn't understand it at all. My wife said, oh, you've got to have your fingerprints taken. I was like, okay. So I helped this German girl that was going over there to be an au pair. I took her through the airport. She was there on her own. She was 17.
Okay.
Really, really impressed with her. So I took her through, went to the machine, took my fingerprints, went through checkout. That was it, done. And I gave them the little printout from the machine, and they checked it.
Yeah.
There you go. Tried it the first time, and it works. I'm out the door.
Yeah.
And then, say 10 days later, we left Shanghai and went across to Zhangjiajie. And when we went into one of the scenic areas, they've got fingerprint IDs.
Yeah.
and mine worked. So I was thousands of miles away from where they did it, and I just went through the turnstile with my thumb, beep, and I think it said my name as I went through. Brilliant.
Done.
Nice and convenient, hey? But when I came back here and told people about that, everyone's response was, oh no, that's creepy. And I said, why is it creepy? Because they know where you are. And I said, and? So why is it a problem? Unless you're a criminal, and none of my friends are criminals, but they all think it's creepy anyway. Why? What's the problem? Unless you're going to commit a crime, you've got nothing to worry about. It's just convenience.
What's the big deal? I go through my university gates every day. It scans my face. It flashes up. Yeah, we know who you are, Barry. You can come in. It's there to protect the students. I don't have a problem with it at all. You know.
I mean, I've never understood this whole. So going back to what I was saying before, is about a friend of mine, saying China's a police state, but he didn't ask it as a question. He just said it as if it's true. And no, it's not really. I mean, when someone says police state, I imagine my mind goes back to movies in the Cold War period of checkpoints and this again misunderstanding because they've been misled. It's been put in their head on purpose over years and years and years of misinformation. It's not a police state. Okay, there's cameras everywhere. Never really noticed them, Barry. I don't know about you. But you notice them in London. They're there as well. I think London has more than anywhere else in the world.
Exactly. When I left, I was in Shrewsbury, and then I had a couple of days in Wolverhampton, my hometown, before coming back. And there's more bloody cameras in Wolverhampton per square mile than anywhere else I've ever known, including China. And that was back in 2014. So. You know,
it's there for safety. It's not there because they're spying on you. They're not under the bed. You know, so I have this all the time. So one thing that happened was going back to last year sometime, I started using Quora.
Okay.
Now, and the reason I started using Quora is because I was reading a book. It's a science book. I joined Quora because I found a link online. I was trying to understand something I couldn't understand from reading the book. I've gone on to Quora, and then within a few days, I think I saw this ridiculous question about China, and I answered it because I know I've been there. And then fairly soon, it's the way the algorithm works, I was only flooded with questions and comments about China, and it's ludicrous. The whole police state thing, totalitarian, authoritarian, and you just constantly spent, you know, every time I was on there, no, wrong. No, it's not like this. I have people from America telling me, you try going to China and driving from one state to another. See how far you get. What? It's so weird. I so to that one, I said, okay, just give me a moment. And I went and found some photographs of when myself and one of my wife's cousins and his wife drove all the way from Shanghai through Jiangsu province and away for a couple of days, and said and put a load of photographs on there on the way to say, so here you go, look, I'm driving, no one stops you. I don't understand how people can be so misinformed about a country, apart from the fact that you see it every day. Every day there's some nonsense. The media seem to be obsessed.
It's relentless. And now the big thing, I mean, they've kind of pulled out of Afghanistan after making a mess there, and for my money, it's because they want to direct everything towards the encirclement of China push.
Well, didn't they say that? They pivot to Asia or something? I'm not an expert on all of that, to be honest.
And I mean, I don't know how much is being said in the UK. I get it because I study it, but the whole thing is the Taiwan thing at the minute. There's this push to try and drive a wedge between Taiwan as a province of China and the mainland, and they see it as another Hong Kong episode. You know, they want to try and create this unrest there.
Well, that much is obvious. Hong Kong, Taiwan, Tibet, you name it, Xinjiang, obviously. These things are all used, and I'm kind of fed up with it. I really am, because it's hateful. There's no need.
Do you think? I mean, you're in the centre of it. You're in London, Rich. Yeah.
A lot of the time.
A lot of the time. Do you get the feeling that people are kind of switched on to this? That generally speaking, people know it's all BS, you know, or
Certainly, everybody I know knows. But no, I'll tell you the truth. A lot of people really don't give a damn.
right?
And this is one thing we all should, take a chill pill a little bit about.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
So a lot of these, I saw somebody, it might have been Brian, I'm not sure, talk about barbs.
Yeah.
It might have been yourself.
Mm.
I think it was you who said the little barbs that they put in
Yeah.
with all of these articles.
Yeah.
And they do land, but a lot of people just don't care.
Uh-huh.
Like, for instance, my brother, he doesn't know anything about, I'll mention these things to him.
Yeah.
He hasn't got a clue.
Right.
A lot of people are completely oblivious to it.
Right. Okay.
But that doesn't mean to say it isn't bad. I mean, just last week, nonsense about the new June movie.
Yeah.
The posters.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And you can go back to, I think it was 2015 when Star Wars The Force Awakens came out.
Yeah.
I was in Shanghai then.
Okay.
And old John Boyega's face was everywhere. You could not get away from him. Yeah. I've never seen so much advertising for a movie.
Yeah.
You go into some of the big underground stations in Shanghai, and the entire subway station was decked out with it. Huge screens showing the trailer everywhere. Yeah. And his face was everywhere. And I looked on the news and saw that he's been removed or made small on the poster, and they made a big deal about how racist it was. Yeah. And I know attitudes are different and the culture's different, but his face was everywhere. And I read it and thought, well, that's a lie. Yeah. And now they've just regurgitated that same nonsense with the June poster, which obviously plenty of people from China have actually sent photos, said, look, there she is, Sharon Brewster. Yeah. I've actually tweeted at her myself and said, if you do hear about this, please know it's bullshit. Yeah. Because it's just lame.
You know, it's strange. Something I was discussing with my students in class, not this, something else, and they kind of looked at me, and I can't even remember what it was, but to cut a long story short, the open-mindedness and the non-bigoted nature of the Chinese highlights to me just how much I have been indoctrinated pretty much all my life up until coming to China, and my biases, which come from my indoctrination of living in white Western Anglo-Saxon land, are highlighted to me because I have never met a people who are so open and so accepting and so welcoming without making any judgments. And there's 1.4 billion of them here, you know.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I've never noticed anybody. I've never come across any racism while I've been over there at all. I've seen a few disapproving looks from the old fellas when they see me with my wife, but in general, everybody seems really accepting of everything. But yeah, I know what you mean, and that's why I said I experienced a little bit of culture shock when I arrived, because there's little old me all of a sudden. I mean, I've been to loads of places in China where I'm the only foreigner around for miles. You know, when we travel and we go into the country, and I've never been treated badly by anybody, and I haven't seen anything. And everybody I know over there has no ill feeling towards anybody else either.
This is the
way I see it.
This is the thing, that there is this because there's this kinship with Chinese, that we're Chinese, we're brothers and sisters, and strangers who have never met will talk to each other as if they have always known each other, and it's nationwide. This trait, this is inbuilt, and you feel it when you're here, and you at first it seems strange because you think, but you two know each other? No.
No.
You know, but it's just the way China is, and this is one of the things the West doesn't understand, is that this unity, this beehive nature, which is we're all Chinese, we're all the same, and there's this commonality, there's this kindred spirit, which is just innate in Chinese people, and they view everybody else the same. They don't look down on. I mean, those with a sense of history will have some kind of distaste at certain things that have happened. You know, the 200 years of humiliation and all this kind of stuff. But there isn't the bias in the Chinese mind. There isn't this aggressiveness that exists in the Western mind. And that's another thing I've noticed. You see two Chinese nine-eyes having a fight, and they never actually hit. It's like there's lots of this, and there's this jumping thing they do. There's never any contact because China's its nature is non-confrontational. It's the opposite in the West. Someone will punch you in the head without even thinking twice about it. And
the difference is astonishing. I mean, like I said, I'm not going to say I've never seen any trouble in China. I've never seen any police. I really haven't seen any police.
Yeah.
You see those little booths that they're supposed to be in. Most of the time they're empty. But I was in KFC once and I saw some lady having a huge go. I don't know what about, but boy, she was screaming. And I thought that's probably the most angry I've ever seen anybody while I've been here. Okay. I saw some people, and there's some things you have to get used to. That at first, I thought, my God, that's pretty uncivilized. Rushing to get on the train. If you're on the tube at the first stop, when the doors open, it's a free-for-all. Bang, everyone runs in to try and get a seat. And when that first happened to me, I thought, Jesus, guys, calm down. But it's quite funny in the end. But I saw somebody having a big Barney about that one time, but afterwards it was over in a second and everyone was calmed down.
You see differences. I noticed a huge difference in comparing Beijing to Guilin. Guilin is very rural, as you know, and farmerland, you know, and they're maybe not as genteel as people in Beijing. There's a lot less elbows per square mile in supermarkets in Beijing than there is in Guilin. And it's the grannies, you know, they're not afraid, because there's this thing, if you don't get there first, you don't get fed, or whatever it might be, you know, and there is that's also inbuilt. It's not aggressiveness, it's just this innate thing. I've got to get to the front of that queue, otherwise I don't get it. And
it's more like a fun thing. I mean, one thing I've noticed is I've seen when we've been driving places, and I've seen some instances of someone will cut somebody up, and there's a lot of really angry horn, but then a second later, it's gone. Whereas here, that might end up in some sort of nasty fight, and you see it all the time, especially in the States and here. That just doesn't develop into that, in my experience. People tend to they can be really angry one second, then it's gone, and they just drive away.
That's it.
Exactly. And I've said, God, if that was me in the UK, I'd be going crazy right now if that was me. And no.
This was my culture shock with Guilin and the way the roads are. And courtesy, it's the same as a supermarket and the elbows. It's like, there's a gap, go for it. Fuck you, that's my space. And now I understand it, I accept it, and I'm like a fish. You go with the flow and you move with the shoal, and it works. If you get indignant about a bit of courtesy or politeness, you're going to get angry, you know. But again,
well, I'll tell you what, I miss it so much. I mean, it's one thing, you know, when I watch videos, and this is how I ended up being introduced to you, finding your videos. But you know, we watch certain vlogs and things like that. We watch Chinese television all the time, Chinese news, Chinese dramas, you know, whatever it is that we watch. And the things in the city, like, you know, you'd be on a really busy street and there'll be mopeds weaving in and out of the people. You just couldn't imagine seeing that here. But no one minds. It seems to be some sort of organized chaos that works. You know, there'll be a moped go past with an entire family and their dog. And you think, no helmets, oh my God. After a while you get used to it. I haven't seen an accident.
Well, this is the other thing, it's second nature. I mean, I'm one of these guys on the mopeds, and because in Guilin it's just easier on a bike. Now we do have to wear a helmet, and for the first time since I've been here, you go downtown, everybody's got a helmet on. And again, it's this thing, because my opinion was, they are never going to make this work. The people in Guilin will just not do it. And they went, okay, here's a fucking helmet. And they gave them away. They gave people helmets. The electric bikes that you can hire and you can scan and you can ride an electric bike away, they've got a helmet attached.
Right.
Efficiency. And it works, you know.
And the bikes I've noticed over there probably in good condition and not trashed.
Yeah.
I mean, that's another thing about the society over there. A couple of years ago when we were there, we went for a walk on the Bund in Shanghai. And at some point, there was a bunch of us there. There was a restroom stop. And we went in. There's bathrooms in there. There was also a little library, some books.
Okay.
Of course, the Xi Jinping book as well. There was a kettle for people to boil water, and a microwave, and some couches and stuff. And I walked in there and thought, my God, if this was somewhere along the Thames, in one night, this would be destroyed.
Be gone. It'd be gone or wrecked.
It'd be wrecked, and everything would be stolen.
Yeah.
I just thought, we can't have nice things, can we?
That's interesting.
You know, and there's something wrong about that. And this is the thing. That's something wrong on our side. Yeah. But all we ever see is negativity about there. And that is just not right. It's got to stop.
That's an interesting little tale, Rich. You know, a few months ago, I'd left a packet of cigarettes outside the shop on an AC outlet. And I went back the next day. In England, they'd have been gone if I'd put them down or not. They'd have been taken out of my pocket. And I went, but they were there. They're just, you know, I leave my bike with the keys in. If I'm downtown and it's late at night, I might take the keys with me. But, you know, to be honest, most of the time, the keys are in, and I never even think.
Well, this is the thing. It's safer. Society in general is safer. And this is the thing. There's a bunch of videos about that people have done about how safe it is. My first experience of that was the first time I was in China. My wife wanted to go for a walk with her sister. Okay. And I said, well, it's getting on a bit. But it's fine here. I said, are you sure? She said, yeah, it's fine. We can go out for a walk at night. And obviously that's been said a million times, but it is true. You know, you just walking around the city, you feel a lot less threatened, even though there's tons more people there than there are in any cities here.
I've never once felt in any danger whatsoever in 7 years. Not once, not for 1 second in any situation.
You won't do. So going back to what you said a while back, you said, what did I think is the general feeling of people over here, being that I'm in London a lot?
Yeah.
In general, I think people do ignore a lot of the trash that's in the media.
Okay.
Everyone knows that the BBC have lost a lot of credibility. I mean, they have to me just because some of the stupidity of it, especially reacting to you like they did. I mean, it's like, come on, what? And Jason, you know, what they and the article that was in the Times about Jason, and you just read it and think, God, are you so desperate that this person's positive about China? You've got to try and bring them down. It just seems so stupid.
Do you, I mean, I know you're pretty much au fait with social media, and obviously we know each other through Twitter and stuff. And where do you, in your opinion, you're a Brit in Britain with experience of China, where do you think that that some kind of a solution or a bridge between this divide of China being accused of having a firewall, the West having a firewall which wants to crush China's voice, where can a bridge occur between over this chasm that exists?
I honestly don't know. I mean, the bottom line is people need to understand China more. It's like all the things they accuse them of, like national security law. We have one. Yeah. Like the social credit system. I don't even know if that's real now. But when they were talking about that, I thought, what like the one that we have? Yeah. If we don't pay our loans, we have a bad credit rating. Right. That means we can't get any credit. You won't get a mortgage or whatever it is. It's exactly the same as here. So if China just decided to do something exactly like that, the press will turn around, or some idiot in the press will turn around and write about how oppressive it is. We do it here. So again, it's just, look, the bottom line is, look at what do they say? They say China is a threat. Right. No, they're not, for one. But the reason China, the only thing I can fathom, the reason China is a threat to our way of life, which Mr. Pompeo likes to say, the reason is because if people found out how good things could be, then it's a threat to them. It's a threat to the governments over here. That look, things could be so much better. You know, come over to China, get on a train, high-speed train, beautiful, go flying across the country on it. Here, they're a disaster. So we could talk about infrastructure for another complete hour.
Yeah.
But this is the thing. There's a lot of things here that need a lot of improvement, and they're not going to get any improvement.
Here's the thing. Yeah, here's the thing is that I saw a speech by the guy's name escapes me, Alec Lee, and he said, you know, in China, the government, by and large, remains pretty much the same, but the policies change. The policies evolve to suit the situation and the circumstances, and because it's geared up to the country, government for the people, by the people. It's a true thing. And
supposed to be.
Where's the hope for the West when it's geared up for the 1%? What could people do? And you said, Rich, yourself, you know, most people just think, oh, hey, forget it, you know, I can't be bothered with it because there's nothing I can do. It's out of my hands. If my vote changed anything, I wouldn't fucking have one, kind of thing. What as a Brit in Britain with experience of China and the world and your knowledge of social media and the trends, what could people do to turn the situation around in the West? I mean, I'm talking about people, I'm not talking about governments.
I think, well, we can only do what we're doing is people that know, is to try and counter that by saying, no, that's not right.
Yeah.
You know, that's all I can do. And I'm not very political, Barry. I never have been, but it kind of makes you a bit more political when you see all this nonsense.
Yeah.
When you go over there, you know, the fact that it's not a democracy, it's probably more democratic in some ways than we have over here. I know for a fact that my vote will never change anything because where I live, it's been conservative forever. So I might as well not. You know, there's no. So going to China and realizing that they don't have to vote. Over here, people think somehow they're worse off than us because of that. And they should have the right to vote. And I've spoken to people in China about this. And ask them, do you want to have a vote? Would you? And in general, the answer is, that's generally the answer. It's because they're too busy enjoying themselves and having a better life.
Exactly, and there's a level of trust. I mean, there are tiers of government, and there are kind of some voting systems in truth, but there's this level of trust, and there's this word trust that when the lockdowns had to happen, and this process is ongoing. I mean, it changes. There are new regulations having to be put in place all the time with this Delta variant and all these little outbreaks that occur. And it changes and moves rapidly to evolve and to adapt to each situation. And you know, the beauty is, Rich, you know this. People trust this. People trust the government to know what the fuck they're doing.
Yeah, exactly. You know, one of my wife's cousins, so one of our she calls him Big Uncle or something. He's the party member for the little village in Jiangsu province where they live. I can't remember the name of the village now, but I think we went to visit 2019. One of the trips we went over to visit them. We drove out there. Beautiful little village. Now it's all been knocked flat, and they've got new. You know, when they knock the old buildings down and they've built new ones for them. So where I visited is now gone. He is a party member who looks after that little. So when we were there having dinner in their beautiful little place that's now been knocked flat, all day there was people coming and moaning, bringing letters in. Look at this. All day he was being hassled by people, and this is what they do. They go to their representative. He takes it to the next one up, and things get done. And there's so many things here that I just wish could get dealt with in the same way and actually be resolved instead of the nonsense we have to deal with. You know, because of it, and I just don't see it being very fair. But you're asking me what, with my knowledge of social media and stuff, what can we do? I think the only thing we can do is to tell people that what they say isn't right, that the way it's being reported isn't right. You know, reading an article on Sky News years ago that was written on the same day that I was in the same place. And it was completely bizarre, Barry. It was, you know, people hiding in the shadows, oppressed people trudging past with a look of desperation. Really, I was reading it going, what?
Where's
what?
This?
I was there. It was a beautiful sunny day, no pollution that day. I was just flabbergasted by it and just thought, this is a delete.
Yeah.
Just delete the app. Don't read it. I find myself trying not to read things because it drives me mad.
Yeah. Yeah, it's difficult. It's difficult not to get angry. I get my Chinese audience here saying, Barry, we can see that sometimes you get angry, and it's like, yeah, I do. It's
Yeah,
probably...
one thing you've got to say to your Chinese audience from me is that there's plenty of people here that don't believe all that rubbish. You know, it's important that they know that.
Yeah.
You know, of course, there's going to be some people that naturally want to, and that seems to be a thing. People want things to be horrible. People want things to be bad, and they want them to. They want there to be a genocide. They seem to need that. I don't understand. Nobody thinks critically about it, but especially those people that want this unrest, that want this division. I don't know. For me, it just seems like a nonsense.
I agree with you, Rich, and you mentioned this word understanding, that the fact that there's this lack of understanding, and I guess that's all any of us can do is talk to each other and try to increase understanding. I guess that's the best we can do, because as you said,
that's certainly all I can do. Yeah, that's certainly all I can do. And I you know, I'm a photographer, so I've taken thousands of photos of China.
Noticed you've taken. I noticed on your WeChat that you've got a good eye, my friend. You have a good eye for photos.
I always say it's not hard when you go to a place like China, and it's an incredible country to visit. I wish more people would. That's what I say. Go see it for yourself. That's what I always say. I'd love. One of the things I'd love to do is to take my friends there, take them for a visit, because you really do help to have a guide when you go, especially if you don't have any Chinese. I'm lucky. I feel very, very lucky that I have a life in China. Well, not right now, obviously, but I do. I feel blessed that I can experience it. I feel very, very lucky, actually.
I'm sure the welcome will still be here when you're able to come.
Yeah, well, we're waiting.
One thing before we go, and again, I'll go through this and get an okay from you on what's good and what's not good. There was a lot of hoo-ha about the aggression towards Chinese and Asian people in the West, in America especially. Do you see do you see any evidence of this?
Only once, actually. I haven't seen. I've obviously read a lot about it. I don't know if it was on the news over there about what happened in Wales last year. I don't even know if it was connected, but there was a lot of anti-China stuff. I mean, saying that China's responsible for the pandemic is just so irresponsible. I have to drive past the Chinese embassy quite a lot in London, and there's this stupid little Falun Gong stall across the road from there, and you know, I don't even know if the woman that's there all the time understands that how she's being used, but it says the CCP is responsible for the pandemic. Now, if I was to make a little stall and put it up somewhere saying things like that about the English government, free speech wouldn't count for much. But they let them sit there talking about organ harvesting and other Falun Gong nonsense right opposite the Chinese embassy. They've been there for years. Obviously, there was a lot of anti-China stuff around the beginning of the pandemic. And of course, it really upset me because to begin with, it was all a load of nonsense. I'm not going to get into that about where we all think it started and why or whatever. But at the end of the day, I know that China did everything they could at the start. We all know that they reported to the World Health Organization when they did and what they did. And I was telling people about it before it was even on the news here. And then they said that they tried to hide it. And I was going, excuse me, hello. No, they didn't. You just ignored it. And that's a fact. But I didn't really see too much violence against Asian people myself. Although one of the last times when we were still going in to London, we have to get a bus and then a train, then a tube. We were running to the bus. My wife was in front of me. We were running to the bus and it was still in the stop. My wife got to the door and the woman just, I saw her, she looked her straight in the eye and just slammed the door in her face and drove away. And that means we've got to wait another 20 minutes for the next one. But I was just furious because I know if that would have been me, they would have let me on. She was a woman. She would have definitely let me on. The bus had plenty of seats. She just slammed the door in her face. I was furious. That's probably the only thing I saw. I don't know the reason for it, but I know there was no reason to shut the door.
Yeah.
She was right there, you know.
So
Ridiculous.
we've covered some nice ground today, Rich, and I'm sure we're going to do more of these. And I was actually going to suggest going live on this one, but I thought let's get seated with each other first, and then maybe the next one it'd be nice to do a live thing, and maybe invite people to have a chat and say, well, you know, have you got some questions that you want to ask from someone who's there in London? Because there is a curiosity, you know, that the life.
I'd be happy to do it, man.
They would love to do this, especially the younger generations. For example, my students, 18, 19, 20, 30s people, they would love to have the opportunity to talk to somebody who's not here. That would be lovely to do. Right, Richard, thank you very much for having this chat with me. Is there anything else you want to cover before we kind of wrap up?
No, man, it's just been good to chat about stuff, and anytime I'm happy to do it again.
Thank you very much to Rich for talking to us today, and hopefully we'll be able to arrange a live stream where we'll invite whoever to ask questions and have a chat with us, more specifically with Rich, who's our man in London. So thank you very much, Rich. Thank you.
We used to smile at each other. There was a girl. Oh, tell me it's not too late, mama. Tell me it's not too late. Darkness all around. Then there was you. Shine a light.